maybe in this session we would like to talk about hyper-automation and, as I mentioned already, AI and the potential in corporate treasury. And maybe I would like, as a start, to ask the two newcomers as panelists to introduce themselves, and then maybe to fix the scene with a couple of slides just to before starting talking about AI and maybe what could come before hyper-automation. So, Angela, could you introduce yourself and Como for those who do not know what Como is?
I'm the founder and the CEO of Como Digital Life, which is actually calling community of money, and we have developed the first cloud-based embedded in-house banking as a service solution. We are hoped to be the counterpart and the newer player in the Treasury support. We have identified that many banks having a very brand-centric approach. The gentleman before was just talking about that. The interests of the banks are quite in their interest. However, we see a client-centric approach, and we would like to be actually the new Shopify, I hope, that's familiar to everybody for corporate banking, purely B2B.
Yeah, clearly a disrupting process, and I like what you are proposing. It's really quite interesting. Emmanuel, could you introduce yourself, because you are also a sort of or maybe a few words about you before Emmanuel. So what is your background? Because before having launched Como, I guess that you have also a good expertise in.
Yes, it's true. I'm quite. It's now becoming 30 years in the digitalization sector. My background is law, but I'm coming out of a family where ERP was the second name. So for that reason, I'm very familiar since 30 years with the need of data unification standards, knowing what centralization makes for benefits. And I was, I think, more than 15 years ago, mainly involved in machine learning and the first moves in artificial intelligence. Yeah. So that's my background. I'm an entrepreneur by heart. Since 30 years, I'm running always my own companies.
And Como is a Luxembourgish fintech.
Como,
so what is
Como
quite
is a
important to say.
Luxembourg-based
fintech. Luxembourg-based. So, Emmanuel, now your turn. So just introduce yourself and Fennech. So you came already in the former sessions, but just to explain what is your views, and you are a UK or British incorporated fintech. Tell us about Fennech and yourself.
Thank you, François, and really thank you for having us again. Hello, everyone. So, Emmanuel. So, as a background, very quickly, I started in corporate treasury in the early 90s. Remember implementing DOS-based ATEL 3 sort of things. Then I had the great pleasure to work for 28 years in banking, corporate transaction banking. And for whatever reason that I don't really know, but I've been a bit bored with banking and decided to leave and founded Fennech. So now I've got the third experience as a tech provider in Treasury. Fennech basically is a niche player. So yes, incorporated in the UK, but with operations in North America, Europe, and Singapore to cover Asia-Pac. And our positioning is quite simple. We are at the crossroads or at the intersection between a core banking system, an ERP, and a TMS. And what we do is trying to bridge those systems. And when I say ERP, it can also be business applications whatsoever, to manage, aggregate the data, and hyper-automate all task functions, processes around payment orchestration, liquidity management, and so on and so forth. So that's what we do at Fennech. And I'm also pleased to announce that as of last week, we get now access to 55 banking licenses, 47 currencies, and all the major domestic and international payment rails. So we are going to merge our technology with those banking capabilities to offer very soon a digital treasurer. That would come with these payment activities.
So we will talk about AI, and maybe we can move to the first line, because when we talk about AI, we know that we have a very interesting technology, and so Melania will comment on that. But what I realize, and we at the ACT realize, that it's not easy to develop solutions for corporate treasurer without the corporate treasurers. And so we've launched an interesting initiative, and you can find it in the Journey to Treasury magazine we recently published. It was at the time of Eurofinance, where the last 3 chapters are on AI. What could we expect? And we were discussing PwC, BNP, SAP, and the Association of Corporate Treasurers in Europe. What are the needs from both sides? Because you have the solution, but we need also to explain and define with you what are, let's say, the good solution or area where we see that AI could help. Again, AI, it's fantastic. You have different type of AI, and I'm sure that Melania could explain and give even some example of what you are doing at SAP. But still, AI, maybe it's the next stage. I keep thinking that, 20 years ago, we saw that today the car will be flying. We are still waiting for the first flying cars and the taxi without drivers. But things will come, but we need to help and to co-create with you to define what we want to get. And I just want to take 2 slides you can find in these last 3 chapters of the last Journey to Treasury. It's quite interesting, this one, because you can see the areas where we believe, let's say, corporate, let's say, end users, but also suppliers, banks, etc. What are the areas where we can see interesting development with AI? Maybe there are some others, but we've tried to do that. And so we will continue, by the way, this kind of, and we decided with Arif and Christian at SAP and the other partner that we will continue this workshop. If you're interested in participating, come, try to help us in designing what would be the future solution. It's interesting. But just to give you an idea of the area where we have identified potential, let's say, interesting outcome in AI. And maybe it's difficult to read, but you can find it. It's also a sort of map where you can see what are the quick wins and what is maybe longer term, what is low, medium, or high in terms of, let's say, hyper automation. I think that it's interesting to see the area we have identified. Again, it's a starting point. We know that we have a lot of potential, and the idea will be to go step by step and to develop or to co-create with a partner what could be the solutions for the future, because we know that if we are not part of this game, this, let's say, design, we will be maybe waiting for solutions that are not necessary. But I guess that you will certainly comment on AI. So maybe starting first, we talk about AI and we have some specialists, but Emmanuel, I know that for you, hyper-automation is more important, so maybe it's a preliminary step. Let's try to automate further the processes, to hyper-automate, see where we have some dysfunctionalities or inefficiencies, rather than to start working on AI. And we mentioned several times that data is quite important. So what is your view on the potential of hyper-automation at corporate level?
Yeah, as you said, I think hyper-automation is a building block. So what I mean by that? What we try to do is avoid manual tasks, everything that is moving data from one system to the other, whatever models on Excel spreadsheets still remains, and so on and so forth. So hyper-automation obviously has got an impact on operation efficiency, but the object naturally, therefore, on scalability. But what matters to me is that hyper-automation, when it is well done, and it's not particularly AI technologies, right? We can use very old technologies to do that, but it ensures a flow of real-time, accurate, reliable, and actionable data put in one place. Why? Because A, on the one hand, there is a human that needs to take decisions, and appropriate decisions, and B, because it is the building block, as I said, of proper data that you can train or use to train or to build something else. And we will discuss about this something else later on, but let's start by the beginning, I think. Yeah. Just last comment, what I find quite staggering, traveling a bit there and there around the world and talking to corporates, whatever the size, the level of lack of automation is shocking, very shocking. So I think there is quite a market in trying to work correctly before anything else.
No, I totally agree. We see a lot of members having the impression that it's automated, but they are so used to the semi-manual processes that at the end of the day, they say, yeah, it works, but could you save time and be more efficient, or to produce better report, or have time to analyze a report? You will produce faster. So it's a big question. For you, Angela, so why automation is so important in corporate treasury, especially when we talk about using AI and ML for our job? So.
Actually, I wanted to add something to that situation, that the non-automation or the non-digitalization, because human automation is existing since 3,000 years. The Chinese have done that for us already. So for that reason, I would say the first step to get to a data unification or to a hyper automation is actually to rethink processes from scratch, to step out of our normal way of doing. And I am referring to what you just said. Yeah, we are not even noticed that we are not automated. Yeah, in a digital way. So because I think that is the most important. And the second is there I am referring to law. To make nomenclature inside which is united and unified, that it becomes actually a standard. Now I can refer to my neighbor here. SAP has done that in a very, I would say, ecstative way in the last 40 years plus. That has also encouraged Como to go with SAP standard because that talks most of the languages of ERP and can talk to that. But coming back to your question, why it is so important, AI makes only sense, or machine learning, I would not say AI, machine learning makes only sense when the data are having such a high quality that a decision proposal can be made in order to go further down the road and develop AI on that standard.
Melania, what about SAP? We know that SAP is using AI and this kind of technology for a while, so we have some examples, but could you tell us more about the solution and about Jules?
Yeah, so I think I won't keep on talking about how important it is to have clean data or data. Or
yeah.
I mean, that's normal at SAP not to work with fake data, but to work, or with deep fake data, but to have the original business data. And then what does it mean is also to enable to be closer to the business, because in the former times you were there with the controllers working together, finding out, learning the business. And this is something with AI, another attempt to be closer to the business, and not to, it's really a romantic approach to it, not to be scared about AI, about how much we'll automate, because on this approach is to give meaning to the data, is still the people that want to learn your business, your unique business. Otherwise, we all apply AI and we all are super digital and we do the same thing, but then we are not competitive. So then it's always behind AI, or anything that we try to do is to give meaning to the data. Otherwise, you have an intelligent system, but without the people to give meaning to that data is nothing. So that's the thing, not to be scared of what's going on. And then, of course, we have these councils of treasurers that think what's most important for them. And a lot of time they want to see, correct their forecast with behaviors and so many things related to that. But the second fold of AI is what inspires us into the way how we work. Because if we look at what we are doing, every 5 years and it's still looking at our work, we are very protective with our baby. But as soon as somebody from university come and work with our tool or our apps, they expect to have the same as other platforms, digitize and so on. So for this new new generation of treasurers, it has to make sense with a fresh view and has to be inspired as well and to get to know your business, because we learn the business maybe in an old-fashioned way, but now we have the possibility to be closer to it via technology as well. So that's the thing too.
Because sometimes it's not a question of quality of data, because we have quality data, but we are not using it. If I take working capital, so I remember in a former job where we were collecting a lot of data KPIs, but we were not able to analyze and to make use of it. So it was not a question of quality of data, it was just a question of making automated use of it. But I don't know if you want to talk further about the solution and Joule, because I've seen a demo of Joule. I was quite impressed because it's your copilot solution, which let's say it's quite impressive, and I like the idea of let's say fishing information in different boxes, in different databases, and making use of it. So
yeah, so what's Joule? Joule is this co-pilot that understands business because has access to all your business data, of course, based on authorization role. And what it does, then we were also inspired by it in Treasury, because that's a trick in SAP that we don't need us as a treasurer to come up with this idea, but it's SAP globally have a strategy of Copilot and what artificial intelligence should change the way we work with technology. So on this, the way we work, we realized, but we would also like to work in this way. So to give you some examples, we saw that you can ask Joule in a chat to give you top 5 payments from last month, big volumes, or top 5 vendors, and to bring you to the payments themselves and to the documents itself and see with which bank you paid when what. So all these flows you just ask in the natural language and we'll give it for you. And in the same time also we saw, and this was also coming to us from the technology that was presented, to try to put filters in a report. It's not a classical way. You go and not look for the attribute. You put filter on. You forgot how is named the attribute. You work and work and work to arrive to something. And now in natural language, you just say, give me those hedge projects that are involving this and this. So, and what's my cost of hedging for this project? You simply type in, and then Joule is searching for you and leads you to the dashboard and to the results of it. So this is something that we did not think to ask for. We saw that it's possible in all the reporting and the way you engage with this Copilot. And then we just leverage it. We jumped on the boat of let's change the way we work with. So on one side, we did this AI infused into forecast, into formats, mergers for these ISO formats, and we had like a creation of modification of whatever forms you create or matching and all these things that we thought about together with the customers, right? What it's important, but the second fold was like, what's coming to us? And we would like to jump in and to see and to search, because we are the creative one, it's not the AI. We in the way how to use AI and the way how we work with.
And maybe a question for you, Angela, but I'm sure that Emmanuel could comment. So does VI ban account management enhance the operational efficiency and automation in treasury functions? So could you comment about...
Yeah, I mean, we are addressing here mainly also newcomers in the treasury world. Yeah, we're having a lot of companies which have grown over the years, but they are on the brink to need to involve more treasury functions in their operation. They are having actually also a need of a kind of in-house banking in order to collect multi-currencies on one account, not to orchestrate, let's say, clients' money, which they need to segregate in 10,000 accounts, break it down in the currencies they need, and having, instead of 10,000 virtual accounts, 1,000. Yeah, that is one thing where you have a use case in this virtual account management. And before you buy an in-house banking solution, you do not listen. SAP is selling it. So you are looking for more suitable solutions where you are simply converting CapEx to OpEx, and then you book it as a service like you go. And I think that needs to be an answer from the banking industry to enable such either newcomers or, let me say, who are thinking about renewal or thinking about, is it worth to buy an in-house banking solution or not? Is this CapEx really interesting? On the other side, we're having also, I think someone mentioned here also the level of training you need to give to people to orchestrate such a solution needs also to be coming on the table in that decision making. And we know the lack of knowledgeable and trained people on the market is quite immense. So then it makes more sense to buy it as a service.
Well, it's a topic we will address, because at the end of the day, you need men to run the machines and to control and to make use of the information. It's clear that we at ATEL and with Benjamin and some of the board members, we work on that to prepare our members to be ready for the future, because good to have the technology, but we need to have the right person to manage the technology. Emmanuel, any comment? Because I know that you are also interested and propose solutions for the virtual accounts. So how do you see the benefit for corporates to reduce the number of bank account, bank relationship, and save money at the end of the day, or being more efficient?
Okay, I'm not going to spend much time on that. That's very obvious. Virtual, and I would use a different terminology. Virtualizing accounts for segregation and allocation of funds, yes, great tool. B, let's make it clear once for all, there is a difference between a virtual account and a virtual IBAN, right? And we are short of time, so I'm not going to go into that, but yes, that's a good technology. Yes, there are several approaches. Yes, we could speak probably for half an hour about the differences. Absolutely, that's something that needs to be more widespread and more smartly developed. Yeah, that's what I would say. Pay really attention about the banks, and I'm an ex-banker, and I love doing now bank bashing, but they are talking about virtual accounts. What they offer is a virtual IBAN. So what you receive, the reporting, you've got a unique identifier. What is good? Really good for some businesses. But then you need to sort it out. There are a lot of tasks that you as treasurer have to do, right? So let's try to find more smarter way of doing things, whereby you don't have to sort, allocate, blah, blah, blah. And ideally, one solution for one bank is not equal to the same virtual account from the other bank, works differently. So ideally, if you can find a platform, a system that can harmonize, unify all your virtual IBANs from several banks, and arguably works with other data points to ensure you've got one holistic solution that would work everywhere in the world, irrespective of your banking partners, irrespective of your currencies and so forth, that's what you should aim at.
Maybe again to conclude, so final comments or recommendation, views, development you consider, you want to start?
Yes, first, as usual.
Melania. Oh, I can only repeat not to be afraid about the digital future. Yeah.
and dare to disrupt and try
absolutely
other
to
solutions.
rethink our processes, rethink how we would like to work in the future, and how to make actually our life simplified and easy.
Corporate treasurers, and Melania will confirm, are usually conservative persons, so you need to also have a view that it's important to change and to evolve and to explore or contemplate some alternative solutions.
Conservative doesn't mean not curious. So
exactly,
get some
it's incompatible. I totally
inspiration
agree.
sessions, get some inspiration from others, and also from what can be, and then challenge, and then we can fix it. So that's a little bit, yeah, if you want to discover more, get the inspiration session. Then what means how conservative you are, that's the second part.
I totally agree, and I think that we should be curious. And when we discuss about what are the qualities and the skills or soft skills corporate treasurers should have, and I'm sure that Peter will come later and talk, will confirm, it's important to be curious and to look at and contemplate alternative solutions. A lot of our members are not taking the time, and if we have an event like this event today, it's also to discover other ideas, the solution, and to share with peers and suppliers. So, and with you, Emmanuel, any comment or?
Yeah, very quickly. First, Melania expressed it. Having the good data, blah, 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 nice, but with Jules, you have a different user experience. What is quite important, and I think that's probably where generative AI will have an impact. Yes. Pay really attention. These technologies today are fairly cheap, fairly accessible, be it ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude, whatever. You can have the impression that you can play with it. Pay attention to two things, please. First one is hallucinations. And when you're working with money, you cannot leave any room for hallucinations. Right? And B, it's surprisingly, the decreasing efficiency. Last week, the Financial Times published a survey that saying that 72% of CFOs of Fortune 500 companies have said that the productivity of their treasury and finance team decreased while they were using generative AI. And the reason for that is super simple. You need to learn, you need to train, you need to know exactly where you want to go, and it's not just exploratory. You need to have a clear target, train to be able to use your system appropriately and avoid all the traps. So pay attention to the traps. Cheap, easy to access technologies indeed might put you in a corner. It's simple, you're going to get there.
But we come to the point of education, so we need to use technology, and it's why I think it's quite important to co-create with some partners to find this solution and to make sure that the solutions are fitting our needs, but also that we equipped in terms of skills our team for doing that. And Mario was a good example where companies are considering having the right skills to be, let's say, ready for the new technologies. Thanks a lot for this very insightful information. It's time to close this part of the session and to have a short break of 30 minutes.